Tonight, breaking news, the manhunt for an escaped murderer in Pennsylvania intensifies. 2 school districts closing after the convicted killer is caught on a nearby camera. One man saying the killer broke into his home. Helicopters scouring the search area not just to find him, but also playing audio recordings of his mother pleading for him to give himself up. What happens if he crosses state lines? Bombshell accusations by convicted murderer Murdaugh's lawyers saying the clerk of court pressured jurors to reach a verdict fast, then writing a book about her experience overseeing the jury. Will the disgraced South Carolina attorney face another trial for murdering his wife and son? A mass exodus from the Nevada desert, tens of thousands trying to get out of the Burning Man Music Festival, all after relentless rain turned the land into an impassable pit of mud. For days, people rationing food and water, facing a 9-hour traffic jam just to get out. Now new questions about a death reported at the festival. Wrongfully imprisoned in Venezuela. One woman sentenced to 3 decades behind bars, all on accusations that she was part of a plot to assassinate the president. Her story of torture and abuse behind bars. Now Amnesty International saying there's little, if any, real evidence against her. And a daring rescue mission through Antarctica's ice. A sick Australian researcher stuck on a remote base in desperate need of medical aid. An emergency icebreaker sailing 1,800 miles for the operation, bringing 2 helicopters to pull it all off. That harrowing journey coming up. Top Story starts right now. Good evening. I'm Ellison Barber in for Tom Llamas. We begin Top Story tonight with that massive manhunt for an escaped killer in Pennsylvania. His name is Danilo Cavalcante. He escaped from the Chester County Prison on Thursday, where he just started serving a life sentence. Since then, he has been spotted on multiple surveillance cameras. These right here, these are the most recent photos we believe we have of him. This is all from a camera at a nearby botanical garden. Caught him twice as he came and went. You can see in some of these, he has a duffel bag here and here. In this one, it almost looks like he's wearing a hoodie. Investigators say they think he actually picked those items up while hiding from police. This all happened in an area that's known as the Longwood Gardens. It's about 4 miles south of the prison where he escaped, and it's just outside of the entire search area. This is also just south of where he was spotted on Saturday, where he might have broken into someone's home. Right now, FBI and Border Patrol are beefing up search efforts. Cavalcante is an undocumented immigrant from Brazil, where he is also wanted for murder. A Pennsylvania jury convicted him in August for the 2021 murder of his ex-girlfriend. It took them just 15 minutes to reach a decision. He stabbed her to death in front of her children. It was all apparently to try and stop her from telling police about his murder charges back in Brazil. Now investigators across multiple agencies are working around the clock to find him, saying he should be considered extremely dangerous. NBC News correspondent George Solis leads us off with the latest developments in Pennsylvania.
Authorities confirm these new images show what convicted killer and escaped inmate Danilo Cavalcante looks like after nearly a week on the run.
The photos confirm that Cavalcante has not changed his appearance, but also that he has obtained a backpack, a duffel sling-type pack, and a hooded sweatshirt.
The pictures captured from a trail camera on the property of a botanical garden 5 miles from the Chester County Prison, where Cavalcante escaped from last Thursday. Police say the 5-foot Cavalcante has been able to elude capture, potentially moving beyond initial police lines, in part because he is within a heavily wooded area.
Obviously, I wish we would have been able to capture him without him getting through that perimeter, but it is also not shocking. It's dark, it's a large area.
Authorities now expanding the search area, which had been focused on a 2-mile radius outside the prison where there had been multiple sightings, including one captured on doorbell camera.
The only thing I had to defend myself was a picture frame.
Brian Drummond says Cavalcante was in his home on Friday, and that while upstairs, he saw the escaped inmate on the ground floor and flick light switches on and off.
And then he flipped the light switch back a few times, which was the real panic moment where I turned to my wife and I said, he's here in the house.
The ongoing search today prompting schools to shut down.
How ready are you for this just to all be over?
I love it to be over yesterday. It's scary.
In recent days, residents have been receiving calls like this one, obtained by NBC News, alerting them to stay vigilant with Cavalcante on the loose.
If you see him, do not approach and call 911 immediately. He is convicted of homicide and presumed extremely dangerous.
Last month, Cavalcante, who was originally from Brazil, was sentenced to life in prison for the brutal stabbing murder of his ex-girlfriend. Police broadcasting audio recordings from high above of Cavalcante's own mother urging him to turn himself in.
He's a bad guy. He needs to be in custody, and we're determined to capture him.
And George Solis joins us now from Kenneth Square, Pennsylvania. George, is there any indication from authorities as to where this fugitive might be headed now?
Allison, every indication is that he's moving further south. Officials saying they really hope they could have nabbed him here in that 2-mile radius. Now that he is outside of that perimeter, broken that perimeter, they are using every resource at their disposal, including, as you just heard, that very, very important recording of his mother urging for him to come back and turn himself in, Allison.
George, with Cavalcante moving, it seems, closer to the Delaware border, what is the plan if he actually crosses into state lines?
Yeah, Pennsylvania State Police are very aware and in tune with the fact that this is just a few miles from the Delaware state line. So they are working with other state and federal agencies to prepare in the event he crosses state lines. Allison.
All right, George Solis in Pennsylvania. Thank you. Turning now to the latest in the case of convicted murderer Alec Murdaugh. His lawyers demanding a new trial tonight, accusing the court clerk of improperly influencing the jury. NBC's Kathy Park has the latest.
Tonight, a surprising motion filed by Alec Murdaugh's defense attorneys accuses a county clerk of court, Becky Hill, of jury tampering. And now the legal team is demanding a new trial and a federal investigation.
The clerk of court had improper private communications with the jurors.
Hill did not respond to NBC News' request for comment. In court documents filed today, Murdaugh's attorneys claimed that Hill had frequent private conversations with a jury foreperson, told jurors not to be fooled by Murdaugh's testimony, asked jurors for their opinions about Murdaugh's guilt or innocence, pressured them to reach a quick verdict, and invented a story about a Facebook post to remove a juror she believed leaned in favor of the defense. Murdaugh's attorney saying Alec still maintains his innocence.
What has he shared with you with this latest motion?
Well, I can't talk about attorney-client privilege information. I can tell you that when I shared with him the affidavits, he's a lawyer, he was astonished, he was shaking, he was in disbelief.
Months after the trial ended, Hill published a tell-all book, even writing about visiting the murder scene. Some of us, either from the courthouse, law enforcement, or jury at Moselle, had an epiphany and shared our thoughts with our eyes. I knew, and they know, that Alec was guilty. Murdaugh's attorneys claim Hill betrayed her oath of office for money and fame.
She's trying to make money off of it. She's selling the book.
Earlier this year, the jury found Murdaugh guilty of killing his wife Maggie and his son Paul, the judge handing down 2 life sentences.
What's the likelihood of a new trial?
These motions are always difficult to win. The defendant has to show not only that they, in fact, just discovered this evidence, but it's evidence that would probably affect the outcome of a new trial.
And Kathy Park joins us now from Columbia, South Carolina. Kathy, do we know more about why this motion is coming now?
So, Elsa, that's a great question. And in fact, the legal team for Murdaugh wanted to get more from the jury room during the trial after the trial had wrapped, but it was radio silent from the jurors. However, the book came out, and according to the attorneys, some of the jurors were upset, and they were a little bit more forthcoming once that book actually came out public.
Kathy, what is next in the legal proceedings here?
Yeah, so now that the motion has officially been filed, the Attorney General of South Carolina now has 10 days to respond. And earlier today, he did release a statement saying that he's currently reviewing this motion, Ellison.
All right, Kathy Park in Columbia, South Carolina there. Thank you very much. For more on this move by the Murdaugh legal team, let's bring in attorney Angela Sinadella. She's known on TikTok as the lawyer Angela, with over 1.5 million followers and one of our favorite guests here on Top Story. So let's kind of take this in parts, just big picture. When we're looking at the accusations against this clerk of court, the defense team is saying they've discovered evidence of her tampering with the jury. Some of the allegations they specifically include is they say that she was asking jurors for their opinions about Murdaugh's guilt or innocence. They claim that she invented a story in regards to a Facebook post to dismiss a juror, sort of at the end of the trial. They say that she did that because she believed that juror was leaning towards guilty. Let's set aside every aspect about what this might mean for Alec Murdaugh and his case, just from a legal standpoint, for a clerk of court to have interactions at all like this with a jury. Is it normal? Is it appropriate?
It is so beyond bounds, Allison. I mean, this is so improper. It's incendiary. It's crazy. No one should be talking to the jury, not even the jurors. They're not even supposed to be talking to themselves. And the fact that an elected official of the court tried to allegedly influence the jury is massive.
So she is also being accused of pressuring the jurors to reach a quick verdict. I was there covering it at the last couple weeks of this trial, and I remember we were sitting in our cars in between hits, just waiting because we didn't go home until the jury went home. We assumed they would go home that night and come back again tomorrow. And then we got an alert that there was a note. We were like, they probably just need like a food break. And they had a verdict. It was 3 hours. It was really fast. I mean, when you look at that and these claims, I mean, I know it's hard to predict with a juror, but does that confirm in any way? Like, yeah, they came back really quick. Maybe she did.
I hesitate to say there's any confirmation whatsoever, but I do think what you're saying makes a lot of sense in that this was an astoundingly quick verdict. Everybody was shocked. Nobody expected it to come back this fast because the trial itself was so long. It was so detailed. It really captured the attention of all of America. So it was shocking it came that fast. Does that mean, though, that she really tampered with them? I mean, that's really a bit of a stretch to claim.
So we haven't heard from her on these allegations just yet, but if it was a situation where the defense accusations are correct, what would happen to her? I mean, would this be something that is criminal?
It could very possibly be. Jury tampering itself is a crime, and she could be prosecuted. There could be sanctions. A lot could happen to her. Either way, this was extremely immoral if she did it. Now, whether or not it's illegal, though, that will be the next step. That's why we have a trial. That's why we have a court system.
Okay, so let's talk about what this might mean for Alec Murdaugh and the future of his appeals. How likely is it that they could actually get a redo?
I think whether or not they'll get a new trial itself is a stretch. I do think, though, there will be an evidentiary hearing. So the next step here is that the appellate court will then remand it back to the trial court, and they will do a hearing about these allegations. Are they true? Is there enough fact-finding here to say that she did tamper with the jury? Can they move forward with that enough to get the new trial? So the next step is the evidentiary hearing.
So there's been some discussion. I've heard people say, okay, well, either way, this probably isn't going to change the outcome of the trial. They don't see how this maybe would have led to a guilty verdict one way or the other. And so they were questioning whether or not there are legal grounds even for his defense team to ask for a new trial. I heard his attorneys make the case at their press conference today to say that this basically is information that the defense had a right to know during the trial. And therefore, because they weren't aware of some of these conversations, that's the grounds they're seeking. It's like a lot of legal back and forth, it sounds like. But is that a legitimate legal thing in the state of South Carolina?
Yes, so it's very complicated. If it's just a question of introduction of new evidence, the bar is extremely high. However, with jury tampering, there is a possibility that now the state will have to prove that this was not harmless, that whatever happened in that courtroom behind closed doors did not affect and did not change the outcome. So we all wait with bated breath to see whether or not this evidentiary hearing will prove that this tampering really happened.
And before we let you go, I want to play a little of a recent documentary where we actually heard from Alec Murdaugh's surviving son, because as you said, this is a case that has really captivated the nation. This is the first time since he took the stand we've actually heard from him in a documentary. Let's listen.
12 jurors all agreed that your dad killed your mom and Paul.
That's right.
What do you think about that?
I do not believe it was fair.
Why?
I was there for 6 weeks studying it, and I think it was a tilted table from the beginning. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of the jurors felt that way prior to when they had to deliberate.
You know, it was interesting to me because he didn't necessarily say anything we hadn't already heard from his legal team, from him on the stand. But this is a very new documentary. Could there be some bigger strategy from Murdaugh's team where they're saying, okay, we know we're trying for a new trial. Good idea to have the son sit down. Should we read into any of that?
I think you're really onto something here. And that's because the defense has had this information for a while now. It's not like they just today realized that there's a possibility of jury tampering. So the fact that they had this interview right before they're going to ask for a new trial is relevant because even though PR is not supposed to matter in a court of law, we all know that it often does realistically. So I think you're right. It could very well be a part of a great defense strategy to attempt to, with multiple different angles, different punches, try to get a new trial.
All right, Angela Sinadella, thank you. We appreciate it. Turning now to some other major news we're following tonight. The former leader of the far-right group, the Proud Boys, just sentenced to 22 years in prison for his role in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Ken Delanian has that story.
What are we here for? To stop the steal!
Tonight, a central figure in the attack on the U.S. Capitol has been handed the stiffest prison sentence so far. A judge ruled that Enrique Tarrio, one-time leader of the far-right Proud Boys, will spend 22 years behind bars. While not physically present during the January 6th riot, he directed others and celebrated afterward, saying in a text message, "Make no mistake, we did this." Prosecutors had sought 33 years for Tarrio, but Judge Timothy Kelly decided that was too long. Kelly also sentenced 4 other Proud Boys last week to lengthy prison terms, but far less than prosecutors had asked for. Some of them seen here at the Capitol.
American citizens are storming the Capitol, taking it back right now. There's millions of people out here. This is crazy. This is such history.
Tarrio and 3 other Proud Boys were convicted in May of seditious conspiracy. Prosecutors said their goal was to orchestrate violence to keep then-President Trump in office, and that the Proud Boys were behind every major breach of the Capitol during the attack. Afterwards, on CNN, Tarrio ridiculed members of Congress who huddled in fear as rioters breached the building.
I'm not going to cry about a group of people that don't give a crap about their constituents.
But a different tone in court today, telling the judge, "I am not a political zealot," and saying to the men and women of law enforcement who answered the call that day, "I'm sorry." Ellison, Tarrio's sentence was 4 years longer than the previous longest sentence for a January 6th defendant, and there have been over 1,100 criminal cases so far. The judge called Tarrio's apology in court better than nothing, but he said he didn't believe Tarrio was remorseful for the crimes he was convicted of. Ellison?
Ken Delanian in D.C., thank you. Turning now to the forecast and the severe weather developing across the country. In New Orleans, heavy rains flooding roadways and stalling several vehicles. Authorities warning residents to try and avoid driving. And storms now threatening 8 million as a record-breaking September heat wave takes hold. So let's get right to NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, what's the latest on those unseasonably high temperatures?
Oh, we'd like to get it out of the northern half of the country, especially those areas that are back in school and don't have air conditioning in the classrooms. Schools are canceling already to start the year, the half days for the kids, sending them home early. So that's a mess, especially in areas of northern New England. And that was in the Great Lakes today, but that should be improving. And it's still brutally hot from Texas to Oklahoma. Even at this hour, it's 102 in Dallas and 103 in Del Rio. DC's 94, and it's going to be a warm, humid night once again. Tomorrow, we should have record heat in areas like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, close to that in Richmond, Reading, even northern New Hampshire. So this is almost an unprecedented September heat wave.
So, Bill, we know there have also been some disturbances in the tropics that you have been tracking. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, get used to heering about Tropical Storm Lee and what will eventually be Hurricane Lee. This one will be with us for a good portion of the next 2 weeks. It's a developing storm now, 45-mile-per-hour winds. It's still 1,000 miles away from any land area, so we're not concerned with it at all for the next 4 to 5 days. And it does look to go just barely north of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, but look how strong. The Hurricane Center thinks this could be a Category 4. It wouldn't surprise me if we get up to a Category 5. This will be the most powerful storm on the planet as we head through this upcoming weekend. So no one wants to deal with it. We don't want it to hit anyone. Our computer models do keep it north of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, south of Bermuda. But when it gets in this area here, that's when we get a little nervous about the east coast of the U.S., maybe New England, the Canadian Maritimes. The bottom line is that's still 8 to 10 days from now. We will monitor this storm very closely in the week ahead.
Wow. All right. Bill Cairns, thank you. And in Nevada, the mass exodus from Burning Man is slowly moving forward after rain and mud trapped more than 70,000 festival goers for days. And now there's a new controversy over what they're leaving behind. Our Liz Kreutz is there.
At Burning Man's Black Rock City, days trapped in messy sludge have now turned to hours stuck in gridlock traffic.
It was a great burn until it rained.
Tonight, the slow crawl out of the remote desert festival stretching for miles. Tens of thousands still trying to get out.
This is where festival goers finally reach a paved road, but getting here is a lesson in patience. For some, the 6-mile trip out taking as long as 9 hours.
And now questions are mounting over the chaotic mess left behind. The Pershing County Sheriff slamming the conduct of festival goers, telling the San Francisco Chronicle some abandoned their property and vehicles, leaving trash across several miles as they scrambled to escape the storm.
There have been people that have left things. I think a lot of people had a very fear-based reaction.
Organizers have not responded to NBC's request for comment about the aftermath, but veteran festival goers like Terry Galt, who's staying behind to clean up, are frustrated.
We know that people abandon their camps, so it's not surprising to hear that there was trash left behind.
What's your message to people who leave things behind?
Well, one of the 10 principles is leave no trace. So for those people who left trash behind, those aren't real burners. They probably shouldn't be out here anyway.
This all comes as authorities continue to investigate the death of a man at the height of the storm. Authorities say there's no indication it was weather-related, but that conditions may have slowed their response. While most today are going out by car, some finding ways to avoid the congestion.
With the bike was just 30 minutes.
Tonight, with half the festival still inside, the famous Burning Man is gone, but a massive cleanup effort still lies ahead. Liz Kreutz, NBC News, Black Rock Desert.
Now to the White House and the announcement late last night that First Lady Jill Biden has tested positive for COVID. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre saying President Biden tested negative yesterday and again today. Peter Alexander joins us now from the White House North Lawn. Peter, do we know how the First Lady is doing?
Yeah, Allison, the good news, the White House today says that the First Lady is experiencing only mild symptoms, that she's going to remain at the couple's Rehoboth Beach, Delaware home this week while she recovers. You'll remember she spent plenty of time with her husband over the weekend. They were together in Florida touring the disaster zone after Hurricane Idalia, and then again spent Sunday together at their home in Delaware. But she's not with her husband right now. He's now at the White House.
And Peter, so far, as we said, the president has tested negative. Do we know what sort of protocols the White House is taking to ensure he stays negative and also keep the rest of the White House staff healthy?
Yeah, just to be clear, you're right. So he tested negative again today. He was first negative when he tested yesterday. No symptoms were told. Today at the Medal of Honor ceremony, notably, he walked in wearing a mask in keeping with CDC guidelines. He did take it off to present the award. The White House says he is going to be masking up when he's indoors and around other people. When he's a safe distance away, they say he won't be wearing that mask. Of course, the big focus for him and for the White House is this scheduled trip the president has to India later this week for the G20 summit. He's going to be tested again before he leaves Thursday. They won't say exactly how often he's going to be tested, just that it'll happen regularly. And obviously, all of it comes amid concerns of another possible rise in cases this fall, Ellison, with an updated vaccine expected in the middle of the month.
And Peter, while we have you, because you are so well sourced in Washington, D.C., I also want to ask you about another story we've been following on Capitol Hill, the health scares of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. He spoke on the Senate floor today for the first time since that most recent incident where he froze for more than 30 seconds. What is the Capitol physicians, what have we heard, if anything, in terms of his health?
Yeah, that's right. We did hear from what's described as the Congress's attending physician, basically is the doctor who looks after the lawmakers on the Hill, and right now says that there is no evidence that McConnell suffered either a stroke or that he had any other serious illness. This was not a seizure disorder in any way. McConnell, for his part, as you said, was on the floor of the Senate today. He did briefly mention the moment, he says, that's getting a lot of attention from the last several days. That's that most recent freeze up when he was on camera for almost 33 seconds without saying a word. We know that McConnell, among other things, has the support of the other leading lawmakers. They have said that publicly, and we know as it relates to the doctor's letter that, among other things, they completed brain MRI imaging and consultations with neurologists. Ellison.
All right, Peter Alexander at the White House. Thank you. While the First Lady recovers from COVID, cases are on the rise across the country. Health experts warn that new variants of the virus are driving up infections as well as hospitalizations. NBC News fellow Dr. Akshay Syal joins us now with more. So, Dr. Syal, talk to us about what you're seeing in terms of the numbers. How bad is it really, and where are you seeing areas of concern?
Yeah, listen, so we actually just published an article about this on NBCNews.com where we spoke to experts across the country really asking, what does it look like in your hospitals? You know, I'm based here in New York, but we wanted to find out, you know, in San Francisco and Atlanta, what are you guys really seeing? Allison, you know, the bottom line is, yes, COVID is on the rise. All indicators are pointing to that. Wastewater, which is how we track, you know, the virus in poop, actually is going up. Hospitalizations are going up. But the tricky thing here, Allison, is because everybody's taking tests at home, it's really hard to get a good sense of where we are, because those tests at home, they get thrown in the trash. They don't really get reported. But everything we're seeing right now does point to this rise in cases. Now, the important thing, Allison, we are nowhere near where we were this time last year or even last winter. So while things, yes, are on the rise, we're nowhere near that surge or that overwhelming of the healthcare system that we saw previously.
So when people are testing at home, or if they are, which I think a lot of people are doing this, they say, oh, I don't feel great, but I don't feel that bad, and I'm vaccinated. Why test? You know, I had a situation the other week where I knew somebody had COVID, and my husband said, oh, should we test? And I was like, geez, I don't even think we have them in the house. We used to have them all the time. Because people maybe don't have them around as much now, or they're taking them at home, or just not taking them, does that make it more difficult to contain it?
It does. And, you know, your question's a good one. Why even take a test, right? Why bother? And I think to answer that, really focusing on the high-risk population, people who are over 65, maybe you have pre-existing conditions like asthma or some sort of lung disease or maybe cancer, autoimmune disease. These people all qualify for Paxlovid, an antiviral. So to your question, you know, why should I test? It really hones in on if you are high risk, there is something that we can actually prescribe you if you are positive. Now, for everybody else, you know, these tests are expensive. It's $30 a test or for a pack of one or two. So, you know, if you're having trouble affording it, I think the best advice really is, you know, if you're symptomatic, take a test. If you're going to be somebody who's maybe you're going to visit grandma or going to a big gathering and you're having symptoms, definitely take a test. But for all other people, you know, who maybe they can't afford it, I think the best advice really is just stay home if you're having symptoms. If you're high risk, take that test. There is something we can do about it.
And since it has been a while, and a lot of people maybe are experiencing symptoms differently because they've been vaccinated, boosted, all the things, what are the key things to look out for when you should say, okay, let me take a test?
We're entering the fall, and I think, you know, last year we talked a lot about the triple-demic of flu and RSV and COVID, and people are always asking us, you know, how can I tell the difference? Are there certain symptoms that are more likely to cause one? And while that may be true, I think generally speaking, the only real way to tell the difference between the three is to take a test. And to answer your question, the things you should watch for are the same really for all of them, which is fever, chills, body aches, but really trouble breathing. That's one we worry about. If you're having any trouble breathing, maybe you found like you're having to use a lot of muscles to breathe, or you're finding that you're just not seamlessly breathing like you're used to, definitely head to the urgent care emergency room, call your doctor, because that's the big red flag we watch for.
Great advice, and people can see more of your reporting on NBCNewsNow.com. Dr. Sayal, thank you. We appreciate it. Heading overseas now to a possible meeting between North Korean President Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The White House warning the two isolated leaders are expected to engage in diplomatic discussions over the Kremlin's war with Ukraine. This development coming just 1 month after Russia's foreign minister traveled to Pyongyang in a bid to arrange artillery ammunition sales to Moscow. I want to bring in Brett Bruen. He's a former U.S. diplomat and current president of Global Situation Room, Inc. Brett, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's just start big picture here. Intelligence officials, they've warned of a deepening relationship between Russia and North Korea. What do we know about the goals from this meeting? And as someone who watches this sort of thing closely, what is your big takeaway here?
Well, I think the big takeaway, Allison, is desperation. Vladimir Putin is casting far and wide, just trying to get some of those essential elements that he needs to build some of the weapon systems, to build some of the arms for his campaign in Ukraine. And when you've got to go to Kim Jong-un, you know that you really are scraping the bottom of the barrel. Nonetheless, obviously, it does represent a concerning development. That's why you saw the National Security Council come out with some of these statements. And they're not so much directed to Pyongyang or to Moscow, but to Beijing, so that Xi Jinping perhaps thinks twice and applies some more pressure on Kim Jong-un.
And Brett, so we don't know exactly what these exchanges will be necessarily, but we have a general idea, right? We're talking about ammunition, things that could potentially help Russia as they are continuing their war with Ukraine, and then sort of the exchange based on reporting and comments from sources. The exchange sort of would be that North Korea would get things that could perhaps help them in their nuclear weapons program. How big of a deal would that be if we see that type of exchange? Would it change things dramatically from what we've seen out of North Korea?
I think it is concerning, and bear in mind that what we have witnessed over the last several years is North Korea trying to build missiles, particularly, that can go farther and farther. And they've had fits and starts. They've had some successes and also some failures. And Russia obviously has extraordinary missile capability, both knowledge as well as some of the resources and the technology to build them. So this could supercharge North Korea's capabilities. And the challenge now for the West, as well as the broader international community, is we just don't have much leverage left over Vladimir Putin. So trying to dissuade him from this endeavor is going to be a difficult task.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, is you have two people who are so incredibly isolated to begin with. Is there anything the West can do to prevent something like this from happening, or is it just they're going to do as they please?
Well, Allison, as a recovering diplomat, I can attest to the fact that these kind of rogue actors are really difficult to contain. Nonetheless, what I think Washington, our European allies, and others across the Indo-Pacific region will try to do is to apply pressure elsewhere. And perhaps that is in Beijing, perhaps it's in other parts of the Middle East, as well as with some of the countries that are sitting on the fence here. They may provide some support. And if we can encourage them to send that message that this isn't such a smart idea, cozying further up to Kim Jong-un is just bad as a look and bad for international stability, we might have some success.
Back now with Top Stories news feed, starting with two tragic Labor Day crashes in Georgia. Police say 5 teenagers were killed and 3 others hurt after a pickup truck went over the wall of an Atlanta highway, landing on a road below. Hours later, 2 Morehouse College students were killed after their car crashed into a pole and then overturned. One of the victims, the son of former NFL defensive end Hugh Douglas. Florida officials are issuing a shark warning tonight after 2 people were attacked at the same beach. Officials say a surfer was bitten on his left hand near Daytona Beach, and a few moments later, a swimmer in waist-deep water was bitten on her right foot. Both people are expected to be okay. No word on what type of shark it was, but black tip and bull sharks are common in that area. And a woman is suing Delta Airlines after they lost her dog at the airport and then offered her $1,000 as an apology. According to a GoFundMe page, Paula Rodriguez was being sent back to the Dominican Republic because authorities at Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport determined she did not have the proper visa requirements. Delta confirms pet carriers are not allowed on CBP-mandated flights, and they were supposed to get the dog back to her. However, the dog managed to get out of its carrier outside of the terminal and has since not been seen. That was August 18th. Turning now to the Americas and a shocking report from Amnesty International detailing arbitrary and politically motivated detentions in Venezuela. We spoke to the sister of one woman who is in prison for allegedly being involved in a plot to assassinate President Nicolas Maduro. Her family says she is innocent and that right now she's being tortured behind bars.
This is Imerlindres Benitez enjoying life with her family in Venezuela, with her young son and her friends. But all of these photos are old. There are no recent photos of Imerlindres Benitez because she has been in jail for more than 1,850 days, wrongly imprisoned, according to her family, and repeatedly tortured by Venezuelan authorities.
Ella fue torturada con bolsas en la cara, patadas en el pecho, en la espalda. La obligaron a hincarse y a rezar el Padre Nuestro. Ella les dijo que no la golpearan porque mi hermana estaba embarazada y no le hicieron caso. Ella es inocente de todos los delitos que le imputan. Ella no es ninguna terrorista.
In August of 2018, Benitez was traveling in a car with 3 other people when counterintelligence officers stopped them in the city of Barquisimeto and accused everyone in that car of being involved in a plot to assassinate President Nicolas Maduro. Eventually, a Venezuelan court with jurisdiction over terrorism sentenced Benitez to 30 years behind bars on charges of attempted murder with malice aforethought of the president and the military high command, throwing explosive devices, terrorism, treason, and conspiracy. But according to a new report from Amnesty International, there's little to no evidence of her involvement in any of it.
Only because she was in this car when the people were detained, she was also arrested. She was severely tortured, and even the government gave her a forced abortion.
Her case, according to researchers, is emblematic of a policy of repression implemented by the government of Nicolas Maduro, a decade of a widespread and systematic attack on the population of Venezuela that may constitute crimes against humanity. The new report, Life Detained, is 30 pages long, and Benitez's case is just one of 9 highlighted.
There's still an ongoing policy of repression.
Venezuela was once the richest country in South America. Today, Venezuelans struggle to access basic necessities. According to the United Nations, rampant violence, inflation, gang warfare, soaring crime rates, and food shortages have forced more than 6 million people to flee the country. And its leader, Nicolas Maduro, has repeatedly been accused of stifling dissent by any means necessary.
Normally, people would think that in Venezuela, the repression only targets those who oppose or are strongly opposed to the government. And what we have found is that is much wider. It only needs to be someone that is in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Human rights organizations have documented close to 300 cases of people currently detained in Venezuela solely for political reasons. As for Imerlindris Benitez, her sister says the international community can and should do more.
La libertad de mi hermana es lo que todos esperamos, que se haga justicia con su caso, porque tiene a su hijo que la espera en casa, que todos los días me pregunta por ella. Siento temor porque por tantas cosas que he visto, he escuchado que pasan aquí en Venezuela, pero sigo alzando mi voz por la libertad de mi hermana y para que no sigan ocurriendo los hechos a más personas inocentes como le está pasando a mi hermana.
Benitez's legal team appealed her conviction, but she has yet to appear before a court. Her sister told us they have been waiting for news on her appeal for more than a year. Coming up next, a portion of the Great Wall destroyed, a gaping hole carved out of a section of the wall that dates back centuries. How authorities say 2 workers looking for a shortcut caused this. Back now with top stories. Global Watch, and China's Great Wall has been severely damaged by construction workers. This photo, released by local police, shows a large gap in a section of the wall that dates back to the Ming Dynasty. Authorities say 2 construction workers widened an existing cavity to the wall with an excavator because they were trying to create a shortcut to work nearby. A 38-year-old man and a 55-year-old woman have now been detained. An update tonight, the coach of Spain's women's soccer team has been fired amid fallout for that unsolicited kiss. His firing comes just weeks after coach Jorge Vilda led the team to the country's first Women's World Cup win. He had initially resisted calls for Federation President Luis Rubiales to step down after he kissed player Jenny Hermoso following the championship win. Vilda later criticized Rubiales' behavior. Rubiales has been suspended for at least 90 days. Now to the recognition of a hero. Larry Taylor, a former Army captain, given the Medal of Honor today by President Biden. NBC's Courtney Cubie has the exclusive conversation with him right before his ceremony.
It was the peak of the Vietnam War when First Lieutenant Larry Taylor got a call, soldiers in trouble. Minutes later, he was flying his Cobra attack helicopter in the dark of night.
Sometimes you fly with in your underdrawers with shower soap on, but by God, you got it off the ground in 2 minutes.
Nearly 100 North Vietnamese troops were closing in on 4 American soldiers. Dave Hill was one of them.
Totally surrounded. is an area about the size of a football field.
And nearly out of ammo. Taylor and his wingman fired everything they had, but the Americans were still pinned down. Over the radio, Taylor's commander ordered him back to base to resupply. Mike Holden saw it unfolding.
He told him, I'm the senior officer in this, you're not. Get off my frequency. I'm going in and these 4 men are going to die. Turned it off and went down.
What was going through your mind?
Before I started the approach in, I thought this is a good idea. And when I got about halfway through it, I thought, what the hell am I doing?
He landed under heavy enemy fire. With no extra seats, the 4 soldiers clung to the outside of the chopper.
I said, there's no door. This is Cobra. Get the hell on here. So 2 of them sat on the skid and grabbed the strut. 2 of them straddled the rocket pods backwards and flew.
Taylor got them all out safely. Did you get in trouble for defying the order?
What are they going to do, send me to Vietnam?
It was 30 years before Taylor saw any of those 4 American soldiers again at a reunion.
That was the first time we could personally thank him.
Hill started a years-long effort to get Taylor the nation's highest military award. Today, at the White House, that mission was completed.
We never lost a man, and we never left anybody behind for any reason. And yeah, I think I'm proud of that. I did my job.
Courtney Kuby, NBC News, Washington.
When we come back, the daring rescue from the Antarctic ice. How rescuers used an icebreaker and 2 helicopters to get a sick man to safety. That's next. Finally tonight, rescuers embarking on an extremely difficult evacuation mission in the Antarctic. Maya Eaglin has the details on how they got to this remote post.
Tonight, a daring evacuation mission in the Antarctic, one of the most challenging environments in the world. Australian rescuers are bringing home a researcher who fell ill at the Casey Research Centre, an extremely remote outpost and one of 3 managed by the Australian Antarctic Division. In a statement, the government agency says the researcher had an undisclosed developing medical condition and that the rescue required an emergency medical team, 2 helicopters, and a huge ice-breaking ship called the RSV Noina.
We were really only able to even attempt it because of the fantastic capabilities that the Noina gives us in terms of ice-breaking and aircraft capability.
The Australian Antarctic Division says the rescue ship left Australia last week and travelled more than 1,800 miles south, breaking through sea ice to reach the isolated area. On Sunday, 2 helicopters were deployed from the deck and arrived at the base to evacuate the man roughly an hour later.
A window in the weather presented itself, so a very nice blue sky day for Antarctica in the first few days of spring, and the ship was able to launch 2 helicopters with a medical retrieval team to fly the 80 nautical miles to Casey, retrieve the unwell expeditioner from the station, and then return safely back to the ship.
During the southern summer, there are usually more than 150 people at the research station, but fewer than 20 are on site performing maintenance work during the winter months of March to August.
This was a very complex operation for us. It's the earliest we've ever gone to an Antarctic station, just a day or 2 after the official end of winter, but it's still very much winter in Antarctica.
The researcher is expected to arrive in the Australian island state of Tasmania for treatment next week. Until then, he's under the care of polar medicine doctors on board the ship. Maya Eaglin, NBC News.
Thank you so much for watching Top Story. For Tom Llamas, I'm Ellison Barber in New York. Stay right there. More news now is on the way.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.